Alright, so here's another haircut tutorial brought to you by Headlines Barbers, Tune45.com, and yours truly, Basio Cuts. On this one, I'm actually cutting my son up. He's been dying to be on the YouTube channel, so today we're gonna make it happen. And this is the before. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So what we're doing, we're just combing through the hair, and you know, it's my son, so I don't really need to check for anything like calyx or anything like that. And we're using the 5-0 or the outliner blade. You could use the Walls balding clippers. You can use trimmers if you so desire. Right here I'm using my Andy ZR's detachable clipper lithium ion, and we're gonna bald him out all the way around. And you can see it's just right at that peak where that arch ends. You want to make sure that, you know, both sides are even with one another. Alright, so now we're going to begin with the Andes Masters. These are the improved masters. They're not the fade masters. They're not the ones with the fade blade. They're just the regular improved masters. And we're going to use the blade all the way open and go up about 1 inch all the way around. Make sure they're nice even lines. And with kids, man, what you want to do with kids, you know, I see a lot of barbers, they struggle with the fact that kids won't stay still, with that, you know, every little thing, you know, bothers kids. And instead of trying to fix that problem, they just kind of complain. They just kind of have a mopey face, like they don't want to be here cutting this kid's hair. I mean, you know that hair's falling on their face is going to bother them. Avoid it. You know that hair going down, you know, to their neck is going to itch them. Make sure you're spraying them off. Make your life easier instead of complaining about it. Right here, you know, I'm just taking down bulk. I'm using the number 3 closed. I'm coming right off the ridge. Because what I'm doing with this style is it's almost going to be detached at some point. Because what we're doing is we're training his hair to become an undercut. And, you know, his mom got the idea of doing a boy bun on him. So we're training, you know, we're training his hair. We're building his haircuts up until it becomes a boy bun. Give my little man some swagger. And, you know, anything underneath that ridge, you just want to take it down to a solid 3 to keep the hair, you know, detached from the hair above the ridge. Alright, right here we have the number 1 open. And you can see I kind of almost give myself the same amount of space with each guideline that I do. You need that space to create that transition. It's important. Alright, so now we got the number 2 closed. Opening it up a little bit to blend into the 3. And he's staying entertained watching whatever's on his phone. If the kid don't have a phone, man, give him your phone, change the channel of the TV, keep him occupied, keep him not thinking about the haircut. As you go down, you're closing the lever. And you're going against the grain. You see that the hair is kind of slant over, they grow to the left. So that's why I'm holding my clipper and I'm cutting to the sides like that. Make sure that I'm going against the grain and the hair is feeding in the cutting teeth. Right here we have the 1 open again, just to kind of smooth things out and clean it up. Give it a little bit more of a transition. Sometimes you gotta go back to whatever you created the guideline with to take the guideline out. And you can see that portion that's like, you know, the top 3/4 of the blend is starting to come out. It's starting to look like a blend. Alright, so here we have the number 0 guard, or it's equivalent to your wall half guard. It's a 1/16 measurement. It's open, and I'm going up just underneath where we ended that 1 open, And we're gonna start closing it a quarter of the way every time we go down a quarter of an inch until it's closed. As you can see, it's blending nicely. We created our guidelines going up, but we're erasing the guidelines going down. Now you don't have to blend like this. In all my videos, I share with you guys different techniques that you can do. You don't have to fade up. You don't have to fade down. You can fade down the first half and fade up the second half. I do that too. You can fade up, not creating any guidelines. And be gentle. Be gentle with these kids. Barbers make it harder on themselves with these kids, man. And just to get them out the chair, you speed things up. And what you don't realize is when you're cutting too fast, you're putting that clip on these kids, man. You're putting too much pressure, and you're making them give attention to what you're doing, as opposed to making them, forget that they're even getting their hair cut because they're occupied doing something else. Now I'm taking out that last guideline. I'm doing the same thing. If I'm fading down, I'm closing it a quarter of the way every quarter inch I go down. If I'm fading up, I'm opening it a quarter of the way every time I go up a quarter of an inch. And before you know it, you have a smooth transition. There might be some things you need to come back and clean up, but that's the basis of it. Like right here, I'm coming back and I'm using my number 0 guard to clean it up. Sometimes you might raise, the blend just a tad bit, but that's, nobody will know once you clean it up with that number 0 guard like I did here. And if you're wondering, my son, he's 5 years old. He's always got a bald fade, always. Before this, he had a mohawk. His mom switches it up all the time. And pay attention to how, I'm pulling the scalp with my thumb that's on top of his head. I'm using the corners of the teeth. I'm cutting at angles as opposed to straight up. All that matters. And a lot of it is with trial and error. If I'm cutting at one angle and it's not feeding the hairs, and I cut at the other angle, and all of a sudden the hair feeds and it cuts that hair. And you see the brush that I'm using in my hand? That's important too. Because when you use a hard brush on the kid, it starts to irritate their scalp and it starts to bother them, starts to hurt them. That's a very soft baby brush, bristle brush. You can brush the same spot 100 times and it's not going to turn red or bother the client. And you should pay attention to that at any age. It just makes it a lot easier when you do pay attention to it at any age and the kid gets in your chair, makes it that much easier. And one thing I do, with a lot of kids when they're sitting in my chair, is I just, if they're not occupied with their phone or the TV or whatever, I crack jokes with them. I ask them, during the consultation, do they want gel or do they want mustard in their hair? And they start dying like you wouldn't believe. I ask them something crazy like, who's better, Superman or Denzel Washington? Look at me like I'm crazy. They start laughing. But that's the type of stuff that, it goes a long way. The parents see it, and you got a client for life. A lot of times too, man, most of the complaints that'll ever happen in your shop is if you chop up a kid. Moms will go crazy. Moms will go out their way to make sure they write a review or whatever it may be. Like I said, you retrace your steps and you detail your cut. So that's my wife who's a student right now pointing out things. I got you, relax. See what I'm saying? Moms, they want their kids fresh. So right there, he has like a little dent in his scalp or whatever. So you gotta pay a little bit of attention there because it looks like there's some bulk there. Now with kids, I don't pass the shaver or the razor on on the bald area with the bald fades. I don't want to inflame their skin too much. I feel like kids' skins are definitely more sensitive than adults. And the last thing I want a kid to have is a bad experience at a shop, because from then on you're screwed for life. Especially if the parent just wants to stick with you because they like the way you cut their hair. They're gonna give you trouble every time they come into the shop because the last experience was a bad one. That's all they remember. Alright, so right here I'm grabbing all the baby hairs, and I'm gonna line them up, and I'm combing them down to give it some more length so that I don't push this kid's, my son's hairline back too much. He has calyx all throughout his hairline, so we're gonna have to make it cosmetic. A lot of that is bangs because I combed the hairs forward because of the calyx. But yeah, his hairline is so crazy, it's got to be cosmetic. I'm using the wall detailers here, the wall detailer trimmers, which I like. They're good trimmers, but I always seem to go back to the T outliners or my slim lines. I always seem to go back to Andy's. That's just a preference thing though. But they hit, man. You get them right, they hit. The only thing with these trimmers with the blades is sometimes the blade gets it gets loose, it shifts, it doesn't stay set where you set it in the past, and before you know it, you got people with gashes on the hairline. But overall, really good trimmers. As you can see, they hitting, man. My son got a crisp hairline right here. That lineup is nice for someone who doesn't have a great hairline. You can see the front is very a lot of calyx. He's got two, strong calyx in the front. Right here he wants to move around, the most important part. And you can see I'm almost shaving his forehead because kids tend to have a lot of baby hairs there. Pay attention to those details and take those hairs off. I'm going to set a little part. Do not, look at the hairline and follow it straight from the hairline. It's going to look slanted when you look at it from the side. You got to angle it up a little bit so that when you look at it from the side, it looks straight across. Because if you start facing the front of him, and you try to follow the slant of his hairline, it's just gonna slant down and look crazy from the side. So yeah, there's the blend with the part. Put the razor on him real quick, real light. And what I usually tell them here is if they move, I don't want to slice their face off. And look at me like, oh my gosh. But they stay still when you say that. So yeah, I think it's a good look for my little man, as opposed to the mohawk. And barbers, make sure you got light pop ready for these kids. Something to look forward to for behaving in the chair. I'm gonna style his hair, and for now, it's just gonna have that that texturized look on the top. Comb it over a little bit. It's a little short, but comb it over some. You can see my man feel like a million lollipops. So yeah, make sure you go check us out on 245.com. The shirts are out, the money clips are out. You want to support the channel, or you like what the whole movement is about, the whole 245 movement. Definitely check out the site 245.com. Thanks for the support, guys. Make sure you subscribe, share, all that good stuff.